So Akutami has done an absolutely brilliant job to not only bring the Shibuya arc to a very prominent and powerful conclusion, but has just as easily reflected and turned around on a lot of different plot threads. Stuff that we've known about, stuff that we've been eager to see explored and expanded upon, and now is probably easily the best time to do it, and he has not held back in any regard. If anything, turning around the story in a way and focusing on some of the most pivotal and prominent things within it, such as the Zenin clan, is something that was to be expected, but not necessarily in such a tunnel vision type of way. And I say that in the best way possible because everything about this chapter is absolutely incredible. There's so many things that retroactively connect everything throughout the entirety of the story. Obviously not playing on all the blanks that have been created, but just a lot of the background stuff that's been slowly bubbling away and building up over time, such as Toji and Megumi, the Zenin clan family, how the hierarchy works, their depiction towards women, and basically the overall role they play within Jujutsu Kaisen. They are a very significant figure, one that stands out a lot, and probably easily one of, if not the most iconic clans. So the way Akutami has introduced not only some of the more pivotal characters that are going to play a very big role within the future, but also conflicting with some of our main characters, with all of the other issues and problems that are currently going on, is absolutely brilliant. And the first thing he does is introduces a very specific type of character, one that's going to be 100% a problem. Not only because he states it, but just the way he carries himself, his thought process, everything about this man is very deceiving, deceptive, and manipulative. This is a person that shouldn't be trusted. This is a person that has power and is part of the Zenin clan, but also is a schemer. A very intelligent individual that really holds no moral high ground and kind of just wavers between doing whatever he wants. And this person is known as Naoya. There's probably no better way to introduce this type of character because you get a very clear-cut understanding of what type of person he is just based on the way he's talking about Maki, Mai, and his father, Naobito, which is the head of the Zenin clan currently. I think this is also a very clear way of showing how the Zenin clan raised powerful men and warped them within this perception that women should be a certain type of way. Both Maki and Mai play the outliers for it, kind of breaking that mold and breaking that perception and showing that women, even without the Zenin abilities or any sort of cursed energy whatsoever, more so in Maki's case, can be extremely proficient and powerful. They can stand on their own 2 feet, and Maki has branched away from it completely, going within her own footsteps, wanting to be the head of the family through her own direction, which is something that you can respect. Not to mention the underlying abusive and indoctrinating type of personality that the Zenin clan actually warp you into. Naoya is heavy within those beliefs, probably more so than Naobito, but obviously has this more evil and egotistical version towards it. He recognizes that Maki is no good because she does not follow within that perception of women and what they should or shouldn't be. And then he directly compares Maki to Mai, who is someone very similar but does know those values of being a woman and does step in those similar directions. Considering this is the opening chapters, you already establish what type of character Naoya is, where he's sitted mentally and how he's been raised and molded by the Zenin clan, and it already builds up a conflict with both Maki and Mai just with the way he views women in such a disgusting and pre-established type of way. I wouldn't be surprised if these two cross at some point in time, especially because the head of the Zenin clan is somewhat up for grabs. This does give us a better understanding for Maki and Mai and how injured they are in terms of Shibuya arc and what actually happened. Maki is currently dying. They're trying their best to keep her alive and fix her, so she's obviously had some very serious injuries, and it also helps identify what groups have split with what people and kind of where everyone is, because a lot of people are split and all over the place and we don't really know. For now, it seems that Maki and Mai are going to be in the care of the Zenin family, but the biggest thing that comes from this is Naobito, and obviously this comes from Dagon and the whole domain fight that happened and how absolutely massive that was, and then instantly getting thrown out of that and pretty much surrounded by the destruction of Sukuna obliterating the city. So a lot of these injuries are indicative to both of those events, Sukuna going wild and Dagon being a lot stronger than they anticipated. So we have 3 individuals, Naoya, who's taking the primary focus and going to be a very big lead into the following events in the future. We have Ogi Zenin, which is Naobito's brother, and then we have Junichi, which not entirely sure where he sits on the family tree, but someone that is a little bit older. are, I assume, maybe brothers with Toji. And I should mention that Toji plays also a massive role in this, into manipulating and warping the Zenin hierarchy. For someone that has left the Zenin family, the amount of pull that he has still is so incredibly strong, and it shows. Because all three of these people, Naoya, Ogi, and Junichi, are here because Naobito is dying. And once Naobito dies, the next head of the Zenin family will come into play, and it's going to be one of these three, or at least you would think. To play on Naoya's introduction a little bit further, we show him antagonizing a lot of these people, basically calling Ogi worthless and downplaying his daughters. Ogi is the father of Maki and Mai, and saying that Junichi should have been replaced with Toji, which I guess you could make that connection that they may or may not be brothers to some degree. It's just a great way to reinforce the type of attitude and composure that he has, because even though these are all powerful individuals waiting to hear what happens with Naobito and potentially being the next head of the Zenin clan, Naoya is so cool, calm, and collected about the whole situation. He's just riling people up and making them super aggressive while easily avoiding any sort of attacks or onslaught that comes his way. He's going to be an extremely problematic character, and one that I am super excited to see excel and thrive and bring out so many different conflicting but powerful emotions from other characters. The only issue I have with this is the way Naobito is actually handled, because it's very quick, and I don't blame Akutami for it. I actually think it's rather fitting for the events and pretty much getting him out, pushing through a new event rather quickly. But I can't help but shrug the feeling that Naobito was just thrown under the rug. Like, his time was up, let's not play on him any further and just completely get rid of him. It does bring in this very small percentage of an idea that he might have been finished off or assassinated by this person being introduced. Basically the person that possesses his will, Furadate. I'm not too sure how you pronounce that name, but why you would want to do that? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons. It's more so just to help me kind of agree with the idea of Naobito being thrown out the door so quickly and not even being played upon, because I feel like there could have been a lot of great ways to still kind of keep him lingering around, waiting for his death to happen. Maybe a very timid and kind of acknowledgement of Maki and Naobito would have been very nice to see, and you could have seen the potential emotional response to it. It's not too crazy. I understand why it's done. I wish it would have been played upon a bit more, but we have got him out and we're moving on to bigger and better things very quickly. This is when the will of Naobito comes out, and this pretty much directly is the reason why I would have loved to seen a little bit more of that lingering on death's door and the emotional connection to Mai or Maki or to anyone that eventually visited him, is because of this specifically. Naobito picked Naoya, the very manipulative and psychotic one, as the next head of the Zenin clan. Naoya would inherit all of the assets. That would have to be approved by Ogi and Junichi. However, there is something else here. If Gojo has died or become mentally incapacitated for any reason, a written agreement concluded with Toji Fushiguro will welcome Megumi Fushiguro into the Zenin clan, whereupon he shall become the head of the Zenin clan and all assets shall pass to him. This is a massive thing. Throughout this story, Toji has always been this character that has been showcased to not care about his child, does not have any time or care for Megumi whatsoever. Now, the more we played upon him, the more we realized that this wasn't actually true, and that he did care for Megumi quite a bit. He's done everything out of the spotlight, within the background, making sure that Megumi would have a good life, would have a support system that would help him if anything were to go wrong. And while there still is some sore issues there, Toji has done his best within his realm to actually support his son, to the point where this written agreement has come into play, and Gojo, who was practically somewhat set up by Toji to protect Megumi at all costs, the strongest sorcerer to exist, in a school that builds their own sorcerers into powerful individuals. Mind you, at this point Megumi was thrown away by the Zenin family. This is what Toji already set in motion, and if Gojo, the person taking care of Megumi, was to ever be mentally incapacitated or has died for whatever reason, he would thus become the head of the Zenin family, throwing him back back into a position of power and supported by a lot of individuals. They may not like it, but the hierarchy system for the Zenin family takes a lot into consideration, and it's not like these people are just going to kill Megumi straight off the bat, especially if he has already become and taken the seat for the head of the Zenin clan. This in itself is actually brilliant because it plays on so many different ties that have been thrown throughout Kaizen's narrative. Toji, Megumi, the Zenin clan really wraps them all together and makes a very clear picture of what Toji was trying to do this entire time, to support and keep his son safe to whatever degree. And this just shows how much pull and power Toji has. I don't know how Nobito would feel about it, but there had to be some sort of agreement there between those two for that to be a possibility. Nobito was very hard-headed and stubborn, so they've had to come to some sort of conclusion. I doubt it was agreed upon in a very ill manner or Toji threatened Nobito. Nothing along those lines. They came to a mutual agreement, and one that is super effective because all of these people here right now are very confused. Now he is super angry. He knew he was going to be the next head. He was going to be the next head, but now that Gojo's out of the picture and what Toji has put in motion, now he's not. So this pushes Naoya forward very quickly and becomes a very massive threat for a lot of different people. He wants to know where Megumi is. Well, he's searching for Yuji within Tokyo. Naoya now knows that Yuji is Sukuna's vessel, so if we take out Sukuna's vessel, we can deal with Megumi. Or if we find one or the other, that works out as well. So Naoya claims that he will kill Sukuna's vessel and that at the same time, he will also kill Megumi. Because of how much Tokyo has crumbled and been eradicated by all of these events and is no longer a livable zone, because of what Tokyo has become, the perfect place to kill them both within all of the confusion of curses and destruction is none other than there, and take that seat as the head of the Zenin clan. To kind of bring this incredible chapter to a conclusion, we have two different things. We have Yuki scheming with someone, fleshing out the perspective of her, as well as individuals out there that know of the situation, that is currently handling everything within the shadows, but not necessarily being on either side. I'm not entirely sure who she's talking to, but you get a better clarification on what she wants. And she says that she's just a humble beauty who wants to eradicate cursed spirits from the world. There is more groups out there, and she's in communication with them, and they're questioning what she's going to do. You then jump over to this very somber and somewhat saddening situation with Yuji and Choso, and this is exactly what I wanted. I feel like I said it a very long time ago, but I was basically hoping or praying that Choso would become a very prominent individual within the story, and at the time, it didn't seem like he was. That he was just being played upon as another villain, and that was perfectly fine. Somewhere in the back of my mind, the way Akutami was using Choso within those first fights and his opening appearance made me feel like he could be a very valuable individual, and I always wished that something like this would happen, and we finally have it. Choso is playing such a human role when you know that he is a death painting worm. He's somewhat caring for Yuji and asking how his injuries are. He even says to Yuji that he doesn't have to worry about him. You then get a very opening moment with Yuji. He is very perceptive of the whole situation, and he knows that he cannot go back to the school or to anyone currently because Sukuna is plotting something with Megumi. He also killed way too many people. Yuji recognizes that he cannot stay with everyone. He even goes to point out to Choso that he killed his little brothers. Choso was somewhat fine with it. He said it was a misunderstanding, going as far as mentioning that if those two were here, they would say the exact same thing. It's not about forgiving, it's just what brothers do. It's what they're like. He's really doubling down on that brotherly role, and it seems like it's deeply affecting him. Like, this isn't just some memory manipulation, it changes the core attributes and their character. Maybe change isn't even the right word, but awakens that part within them that technically they shouldn't even have. They are cursed wombs, but they have completely jumped over that line of being recognized as cursed wombs, and at this point you could say that Choso is more human than a lot of other people. Almost completely obliterated that line, and that wouldn't be a possibility without Mahito. Someone that started on it, spread all throughout it, and he corrupted it himself. Showed us what the differences between humans and curses were, but also how identical humans and curses were. Yuji and Mahito specifically. Now Choso bringing in so much humanity and care for someone that he doesn't even know. You end off with Yuji and him going out to kill more curses as much as possible. And a final panel with Choso, Yuji, Yuta, and Naoya. All these people centering and revolving around Yuji, and there's a lot of seriousness here. The weight is extreme and things are getting absolutely crazy. I absolutely loved how how Akutami handled things. And I am extremely excited to see where he goes from here, what he wants to do, and what things will he play upon. There's a lot of powerful individuals in motion, a lot of weird situations building within the background, and how it will be handled and constructed from here on out. So with that being said, that is basically it. Let me know how you felt about the chapter. A lot of great things within here. Zenin clan, Yuji, Naoya, Yuki, Maki, a lot of great things. A lot of things pushed into motion, a lot of ties being reconnected to. So many things can be played upon. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.